And you ended up in a sauna with David Bowie.
I did. That was one of my great stories. So one guy, Les Garland, he was told to get Mick Jagger. John Sykes was told to get Pete Townsend. I was told, you go get David Bowie. And I called David Bowie's manager, and she said, yeah, he can't do it. He's skiing in Stade, Switzerland. And he said, but, if you want to go to Stade, Switzerland, he might want to do it. He was, David was the first guy to ever give us permission to use his photo.
Awesome.
So I said, we'll go anywhere. We're like Mission Impossible. So we went to Stade on a train and a plane and all this equipment. We went to some side hill, and David came out. He was really looking. He was in the Let's Dance phase, looked really sleek and good. He had it all in his head. He was going to ski down and swish and say, I want my MTV. And then we'd hold up, and then we'd animate a logo in afterwards. And we did that, and he said, hey, when we're finished, it didn't take long. Anyone want to go skiing? Want to hang out? And he was like, yeah. And then he says at the end of the day, well, what are you doing later? You want to take a sauna at the Palace Hotel, which is like the Grand Dame Hotel.
Wow.
So I went back to our youth hostel where we were sort of staying and said, I'll see you losers later. I'm going to take a sauna with David Bowie. I can't believe this is happening to me. So I go there. I go down into the spa. He's waiting, get undressed, put towels around us, and we go into the steam room. It was a sauna, excuse me. And there's only one other person in there, and he's up on a back bench. This is a ski resort. And I squint through the steam, and it's Paul McCartney.
Oh my gosh!
I'm in a sauna now with David Bowie and Paul McCartney, just wearing a towel, throwing water on the rocks, and they just were shooting the shit. They wanted to know what MTV was about, what we were doing.
Were they skeptical?
No. They wanted to hear. They wanted to get information. I was telling them how we were doing, why we were doing this campaign, how great this was going to help us. In the end, we had a good relationship with Paul McCartney, too. He made the first Unplugged record that came out years later.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's maybe, that's top 5 story.
That was incredible that all of those artists were on board, because that was what really created this critical mass that forced the cable operators to take it, because they were inundated with these calls. Like, it was that sort of brilliant guerrilla marketing. I never knew how the I Want My MTV campaign started. And I was delighted that it started from a best practices of a children's cereal campaign. So explain how that came to be.
Well, there was when we started MTV, nobody wanted to take it. Cable systems then were monopolists in a certain geography. And they didn't like the idea of MTV because it was going to cost them 10 cents a home a month. We were going to cut into their profit margins. They didn't think anyone was going to watch music on television. And I would know because I was like the marketing guy. I would go out to Tulsa and places that actually had cable.
I love that story. And the girl at the car rental place sees John Sykes' MTV pin. She's like, can I get one of those?
Yeah.
And you finally, you couldn't get MTV on the coasts. It was only in the middle of the country.
No one who worked there had ever seen it.
That was wild.
So we go out to a place that had it for 2.5 months, and she says, oh, well, how do you know about MTV? Everybody knows about MTV. And you go to a bar, and they'd have it up on the screen like it was a sports
What was
game.
that feeling like?
I was
I
was shivering. I couldn't believe they took me to this bar, this radio station guy, who's telling me MTV's really affected their playlists. And we go to this bar, and everyone's sitting around like they're watching this Super Bowl, standing around. And their music, MTV's on, and people are transfixed, just like those Afghans were way back, in 1976. And that was okay, I know, we're working. If we could connect with the customer, the ultimate customer, we got a business here. But no one would carry us anyway, so we decided we were running out of money, and we needed to go for broke. So the Hail Mary pass was, we hired this guy, George Lois, and Dale Pond. They had an ad agency, and George had done the I Want My Mapo campaign at one point.
And for people who don't know what Mapo is.
Mapo was like an oatmeal cereal you had to cook, and they realized they couldn't sell it to parents. So they would go directly to kids and say, I want my Mapo. Some brats would do it, but then they had Mickey Mantle, Win Chamberlain, all these people. And he says, we're going to do that. He'd say, those cable operators. Let's go right to the fans. And they would we would go out and get rock stars, Mick Jagger, David Bowie, and so forth, to say, I want my MTV, hold the logo, legitimize us. Call your cable company and say, I want my MTV. They'd all call, and the cable operators would collapse.
What do you think will happen to the remnants of MTV?
The remnants would be, they have an amazing library, music news going back to 1980. They've got all these specials and, the Unplugged and all these video music awards. They have a huge library. And they've got a logo and they got a brand that's worth something. And they could reimagine how to do it in a digital world, and I'd say, well, get someone like John Mayer or Rick Rubin and put them in a room with 25-year-olds for a couple of weeks, and they'll come up with some great ideas. Don't ask some old people to do it.